Hi everybody, my name is Angie Hotz and I live in Western Washington. I live in Kitsap County, Washington, which is right across the Puget Sound from Seattle. So Seattle is like an hour ferry ride from me. We're kind of a suburb of Seattle. We have a lot of people in our town that commute to work every day in Seattle. I even have doula clients in Seattle every so often, which is really fun to catch a ferry in the middle of the night to go to a birth. So how I came to midwifery, probably through my own birth stories. Like that's how I learned about midwifery. So I had a C-section with my first. I have 4 boys. I had a C-section with my first for a surprise breech when I was in labor. And then I had an all-natural, unmedicated birth in the hospital. It was my first VBAC. And then my second VBAC, the hospital that I had birthed at previously had changed their policies and banned VBACs, even though I'd had a successful one there. But they banned them, so I had to look for a different care provider and travel farther away. And so I found a birth center in Topeka, Kansas. That was lovely, and it was like my first real taste of midwifery and how much naturally in alignment they were. Just the way they practiced, it was what I wanted, and I didn't have to fight for anything. I didn't have to be so proactive, and they were kind, and they listened to me, and I got to know them, and it was lovely. And then for my 4th son, I had an unassisted home birth. It wasn't intentional, but he came really fast. It only took about 2.5 hours to birth him, and so my midwife was just late, but it was lovely. Definitely the farther away I got from the hospital, the happier I was with my birth experiences. I trained to be a birth doula when my 3rd son was a baby. I actually took him with me to the doula training, and it was super fun, but I could not make going to births and leaving for extended periods of time. I couldn't make that work. It just was not right for me and my babies. So I put that kind of on the back burner, and then when we moved to Washington, there was a childbirth educator training over in Seattle, and it just was the right time. So I did that, and I've been teaching for about 4 years, 3.5 years, 4 years. I don't know. I'd have to look. It feels like a really long time. But I started taking doula clients that were my students, and then I just, like, my practice grew, and now I'm very busy, and I take 3 to 5 birth clients a month. The most I've had in a month was 8, and it was great. Like, all the babies lined up, and knock on all the things, like knock on the wood that it continues to work that way. I will probably have to take less clients during school, but for now, I'm the one that works. My husband stays home with our 4 boys, and he homeschools them, and it works for me to be the breadwinner and to be the one working. So I came to midwifery because I was doing doula work, and then I decided that I wanted to be a birth assistant, and so I took training to do that, and I've worked with several of the midwives in the area as a birth assistant, and I really love it. Originally, I had thought, well, I'm just going to do doula work and I'll be a birth assistant, and that's perfect, and that's exactly what I want. But there wasn't enough birth assisting work, and I had gone to a couple births as a birth assistant that were scary, and I had to use all my skills, and the midwife had to use all her skills. And this particular midwife is actually going to be my first preceptor, which I'm really excited about. But going to that birth and feeling the tension and feeling the fear and feeling the adrenaline boost, and yet still being able to feel very calm and collected and confident and run through my brain of all of the steps. Like, first we do this, and next we do this, and this is how, like, it was very methodical and clear-headed and very calm and confident. And I liked being that. I liked knowing that that was a possibility for me to react in that way in an emergency. And the mom was great, and we got the bleeding under control, and, you know, it was all good. But it was what made me realize that midwifery for me is a possibility, because if I can be in that sort of situation and still be in control and still feel clear-headed and still feel confident in my abilities and my skills, and yet still open to learn more, like there was no ego involved. It was very humbling, but it also boosted my confidence too, to know that I had in me, that capability of not panicking and like, let's just do the work. I know how to do the work. Let's do it. So that's kind of what sparked it for me. And it was really great that that experience happened with the midwife who's going to be my preceptor. I think she's just a fantastic fit. So how I came to midwifery was through my own birth experience, and then my experience as a doula, and then a birth assistant, and wanting to know more. I don't want to do doula work forever. I want to grow and expand, and I feel like I've kind of reached a plateau in doula work. I know there's more training, and I know that there's always more to know, but I don't know that it would serve my doula work as much as it would just to become a midwife. And it's always kind of been in the back of my head ever since I discovered midwives with my own birth. It was always, wow, that just must be a great job. So my vision for my practice, I am really enjoying kind of dwelling in this place of possibility. I don't know what my practice is going to look like. I do know that I want to work with other care providers in the area. I know some naturopaths, and I know chiropractors, and I know yoga teachers and childbirth educators, and so many fantastic people in our local community that I think are just ripe for someone to come in and really just kind of gather everybody up and say, let's work together. Let's help each other out. Let's collaborate. Let's combine our practices. You know, it would be wonderful to have one of my naturopath friends be able to see my clients prenatally too. Like, what if they need a prescription? Or, you know, what if they are going to be the baby's primary care provider? Like, it would be great to kind of have those seamless continuity of care between care providers. So I have some ideas, but like what my vision is, collaboration for sure. But again, I'm really enjoying just being open to what comes along. I do know that in the 4 or so years, that's my goal to be done with school, life is going to look a lot different. And it will be really great to see how this unfolds and to see where I'm at in 4 years. Like I know that things can change, and I'm open to that. So the last thing kind of on the list to talk about was experience or observations on challenges of communication within the midwifery community. So in Kitsap County, we have the North Kitsap midwives, and then we have the South Sound midwives. So it's not a big amount of distance, but there are two kind of main hospitals that people transfer to. So the North Kitsap midwives, they transfer to a hospital called Harrison Silverdale, and the South Kitsap midwives transfer to St. Joe's, which is in Tacoma. Now, St. Joe's has certified nurse midwives on staff at the hospital, and they are much, much friendlier and welcoming and compassionate when home birth clients transfer to the hospital. Like, they play very nicely with those midwives. Not so much for the North Kitsap midwives who transfer to Harrison. Like, it is a very different atmosphere. It's not friendly. So there needs to be, I think, more communication between how the midwives in North Kitsap practice based on how they're received when they transfer. Like, it feels like, especially from my position now, being a doula and a birth assistant and a childbirth educator, it feels like they're worlds apart. I would love to know what they're all talking about and how they're communicating together, and maybe help facilitate that, because I certainly want to be open to transferring to both places, depending on where my clients live. So like, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is how the geographic location as to where we would transfer affects the way that we would practice. I think it's a big deal. And I think that it definitely makes a difference in how clients choose, excuse me, how clients choose which midwife they're going to go with. And where I live demographically is right in the middle. It's right in the middle of both of those places where I would transfer. So anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I really look forward to getting to know everybody and really excited for this journey. Thanks.